The old desk arrived on a Tuesday. Alex Mercer hadn't expected much. Just a piece of furniture for his sparse apartment. He was an architect. He appreciated old things, things with history. This desk, dark mahogany, had plenty of that. He ran his hand over its smooth, cool surface. It felt solid, reliable, unlike most things in his life recently. He began cleaning it, wiping away years of dust. That's when he found the loose panel at the back of a drawer, a hidden compartment. His heart gave a little jump. What secrets did this old desk hold? Inside, nestled on faded velvet, was a small silver locket. It was tarnished with age, intricately carved with forgotten flowers. Curious, Alex picked it up. It felt cold in his palm. He fumbled with the clasp. It sprang open. Inside there was no romantic portrait of a lost love. Instead, a tiny sepia-toned photograph of a child, a girl no older than 5 or 6. Her eyes were wide, unsettlingly direct. He didn't recognize her, yet a strange shiver traced its way down his spine. A feeling he couldn't quite name. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was something deeper. He carefully slid the tiny photograph out. It was fragile, threatening to crumble. On its reverse, a single word was scrawled in faded ink. Silentium. Just one word. Latin, he thought. Silence, or something like it. The word felt heavy, ominous. It settled in his mind like a stone. What did it mean? Why this word? Why this child? The discovery felt less like a charming antique find and more like an intrusion. A message from a past he didn't know. A past that perhaps didn't want to stay buried. Alex sat there for a long time, the locket in his hand, the photo on the desk. The city hummed outside his window, a distant, uncaring beast. But in his small apartment, a new silence had fallen. A silence filled with questions. The girl in the photo, her haunting gaze. The word silentium. It was a puzzle he felt an unnerving compulsion to solve. He had a feeling this was not just an old locket. This was a beginning. The start of something he couldn't yet comprehend. Something that might change everything. The city of Viridia was a creature of shadows and secrets. Alex had lived there for 10 years. He thought he knew its rhythms, its moods. But now, the city felt different. Or maybe he was the one who had changed. The word silentium echoed in his head. It painted the familiar streets with a new layer of menace. The alleys seemed darker. The flickering neon signs of late-night diners cast longer, more distorted shadows. He walked home from work, the locket heavy in his pocket. Every corner seemed to hold a watching eye. Every whisper of wind sounded like a warning. He started looking for silentium online. Hours spent staring at his screen. Most results were academic, references to silence in music, in philosophy. But then, he found it, buried deep in obscure forums, local legends from Viridia's underbelly, whispers of a place, an organization. Something called Silentium. The details were vague, contradictory. Some said it was a myth, a ghost story to scare restless kids. Others hinted at something real, something powerful and hidden, something that preferred to remain in the shadows. The city suddenly felt like a labyrinth, and he was lost within it. The word itself, Silentium, resonated with a painful chord deep within him. His younger sister, Lily. She had disappeared 15 years ago, vanished without a trace. The silence surrounding her case had been deafening, unbearable. A void that had consumed his family. His parents had crumbled. He had learned to live with the quiet hum of grief. But this new Silentium felt connected. An echo of that old, cold silence. Was it possible? Could this locket, this word, lead him to answers about Lily? Or was he just chasing ghosts, desperate for any connection? The city offered no comfort. Its concrete and steel were indifferent to his turmoil. He saw suspicion in the faces of strangers. The rumble of the subway beneath his feet felt like a monstrous heartbeat. Viridia was not just a backdrop anymore. It was an active participant in this unfolding mystery. Its secrets were buried deep beneath the asphalt and grime, and Alex knew with a chilling certainty that digging them up would be dangerous. The city did not give up its secrets easily. It often claimed a price. One of the online forum posts mentioned an old bookstore, the Dusty Quill. It was supposedly a place where forgotten histories of Viridia were kept, a long shot. But Alex had to try. He found it tucked away on a narrow side street, the kind of street the sun forgot to visit. The sign was faded, the windows grimy. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old paper and something else. Something like forgotten memories. Towers of books reached towards the ceiling, creating narrow, shadowy aisles. It was a place where stories went to die, or to wait. Behind a counter piled high with even more books sat an old man, Elias. His face was a roadmap of wrinkles. His eyes, though, were sharp, alert. They seemed to see more than just a customer looking for a rare find. "Can I help you?" Elias asked. His voice was soft, raspy, like dry leaves skittering across pavement. Alex hesitated. "I'm looking for information," he said, "about something called Silentium." The old man's eyes flickered, a subtle change, almost imperceptible, but Alex saw it. He knew. Elias knew the word. Elias was silent for a long moment. He polished his spectacles slowly. Silentium, he finally repeated. A heavy word, carries echoes. Some things are best left undisturbed, young man. His gaze was intense. There are shadows in this city that listen. Shadows that have been here a long, long time. It wasn't a direct answer, it was a warning, a clear one. But Alex couldn't turn back now, not after finding the locket, not with the faint hope, however foolish, that this might lead to Lily. He pressed, "Do you know what it is?" Elias sighed. He seemed to weigh his words carefully. It's a whisper from a past Viridia wants to forget, a place where innocence was lost. He finally looked directly at Alex. "If you must chase these shadows, look for the orchard, a children's home. Long closed now, on the city's forgotten edge." He gave Alex a street name. Nothing more, no explanation, just a direction. "Be careful," Elias added, his voice barely audible. "Some doors once opened can never be closed again." Alex left the bookstore, the old man's warning clinging to him like the city's damp air. The Orchard Children's Home was exactly where Elias said it would be, on the city's forgotten edge, a place where hope had clearly withered and died. The building was a ruin, windows boarded up like blind eyes, weeds choked the yard where children once played. A rusted, creaking gate was the only welcome. Alex felt a profound sense of desolation. This place felt wrong. Tainted. He found a loose board on a back window and slipped inside. Dust lay thick everywhere, disturbed only by the scurrying of unseen creatures. The silence here was different. It was heavy, suffocating. He searched through overturned furniture and decaying boxes. Most of it was junk. But in what looked like an old office, he found a metal filing cabinet, rusted shut. He forced it open with a crowbar he'd brought. Inside, moldy files, children's names, admission dates. And then, something else. A separate ledger, special donations, large, anonymous sums of money, next to some entries, brief notes, promising candidate, unique talents. A chill ran down Alex's spine. This was no ordinary children's home. This was something far more sinister. Suddenly, a floorboard creaked behind him. He wasn't alone. Alex froze. He held his breath, listening. The air grew colder. He glimpsed a shadow move in the dim light filtering through a dirty window. A tall figure cloaked in darkness, not a vagrant. This person moved with purpose, with menace. Alex knew instinctively this was not a chance encounter. He was not supposed to be here. He had stumbled into something he wasn't meant to see. The conspiracy, whatever it was, had teeth, and it was aware of him. He bolted, out a back door, scrambling over fallen debris. He didn't look back. He ran until his lungs burned, until the derelict orphanage was far behind him. The close call left him shaken. This wasn't just about a forgotten legend anymore. This was real, dangerous. The names in that ledger, the special donations, the shadowy figure. It all pointed to something organized, something powerful. The web was widening, and he was caught in its strands. The city felt like a trap, and the walls were closing in. A few days later, a woman approached him outside his apartment building. She was young, with sharp, intelligent eyes and an air of restless energy. "Alex Mercer?" she asked. Her voice was direct, confident. "My name is Sarah Chen. I'm a journalist." Alex tensed. Journalist meant trouble, exposure. He didn't need that. "Not now. I'm not interested in talking to the press," he said, ready to walk away. But she persisted. "I'm not here about your architecture," she said. "I'm here about Silentium." That stopped him. Sarah explained she'd been investigating a series of strange disappearances, cold cases, people who had vanished without a trace over the years. Her research had led her to whispers of Silentium, vague connections, unconfirmed rumors. She believed it was a key, a hidden link. "You've been asking questions," she said, "at the Dusty Quill, about the orchard." Alex was stunned. How did she know? Was she part of this? Or was she, like him, just chasing shadows? He didn't know if he could trust her. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. "How do you know about the orchard?" Alex asked, his voice tight. Sarah didn't flinch. "I have my sources," she said. "This city talks if you know how to listen. I think we can help each other, Alex. You have something, don't you? Something that started this for you." He thought of the locket, the photo. He was reluctant to share. But he was also hitting dead ends. And he was scared. Sarah seemed to have resources, contacts. Maybe she was genuine. Or maybe she was incredibly skilled at deception. He made a decision. A gamble. He told her about the locket. About the word Silentium. He didn't tell her everything, not about Lily, not yet. Sarah listened intently. Her eyes never left his. "A locket," she mused. "It's more than I had." She proposed they work together, share information, combine their efforts. "This thing, whatever Silentium is, it's big," she said, "and dangerous. Going it alone is a death sentence." Alex knew she was right. But trust was a fragile thing. A double-edged sword. This alliance could be his salvation, or his downfall. The news hit Alex like a physical blow. Elias, the old bookstore owner, was dead, found in his shop. The official report said accident, a fall from a ladder. But Alex knew better. Elias had warned him. Shadows that listen. Those shadows had silenced him. The timing was too convenient, too neat. Elias was killed because he talked to Alex, because he knew something about Silentium. The game had escalated. The stakes were now undeniably lethal. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through Alex. He was in over his head, way over. His first thought was Sarah. Had she leaked something? Had her investigation, her sources, led the killers to Elias? The doubt was a poison. It spread quickly through his mind. He had trusted her, just a little, shared information. Was she playing him? Was she part of the very conspiracy they were supposedly uncovering? He remembered her confidence, her knowledge of his movements. It could be good journalism, or it could be something far more sinister. He felt utterly alone, trapped in a city that was actively trying to bury its secrets and anyone who disturbed them. He went back to the locket. He needed something. Anything. He examined it again more carefully this time. Under a strong light, he noticed a tiny seam he hadn't seen before, almost invisible. His fingers fumbled, trying to find a way to open it. A hidden catch. It clicked. A tiny secondary compartment sprang open. Inside, a minuscule, tightly rolled piece of paper. His heart hammered against his ribs. With trembling hands, he unrolled it. On it, a sequence of numbers. Just numbers. No letters. No explanation. What did they mean? The isolation was crushing. He couldn't go to the police. What would he tell them? About a locket? A cryptic word? A dead bookstore owner and a shadowy organization? They'd think he was crazy. Sarah was now a question mark. A potential threat. He was on his own. The city's darkness seemed to press in on him. Every shadow seemed to lengthen. Every unexplained noise made him jump. The numbers on the paper were his only lead now. A fragile thread in a terrifying maze. He had to follow it. He had no other choice. Alex couldn't decipher the numbers alone. He needed Sarah. Despite his doubts, her skills were undeniable. He contacted her, met her in a crowded public park, neutral ground. He watched her carefully as he explained about Elias, about his suspicions. She looked genuinely shocked, horrified. "You think I had something to do with that?" she asked, her voice low, hurt. "Alex, I'm trying to expose these people, not help them." Her reaction seemed sincere, but he still wasn't sure. He showed her the numbers from the locket. Sarah studied the sequence. Her eyes lit up. "This looks like a vault combination," she said, "or a safe deposit box. There are a few private security firms in the city that use this kind of numeric sequence for older boxes." She knew where to start looking. They agreed to investigate together. A tense, uneasy truce. Alex knew he was taking a risk, but the potential reward answers was too great to ignore. They found the security firm, an old, established institution, the kind that prided itself on discretion. Now, the real challenge, getting inside. As they staked out the security firm, planning their next move, they realized they were being watched. A dark sedan, always parked a block away, sometimes following them, subtle, professional. The hunters had found them, or perhaps they had been led. The feeling of being prey was palpable. The city streets, once familiar, now felt like a hunting ground. Every turn could be an ambush. Every stranger a potential threat. The lines were blurring. Were they still investigators, or were they fugitives? The chase was inevitable. It happened late one night. They were leaving Sarah's apartment. The dark sedan appeared, accelerating fast. Tires screeched. Alex swerved their car into a narrow alley, a desperate chase through Viridia's nocturnal maze. Rain began to fall, making the streets slick. Headlights flashed in their rearview mirror. Too close. They were outmatched. But Alex knew the city's back streets. He drove with a desperate focus. He had to lose them. For a moment, he wasn't just Alex Mercer, architect. He was someone else. Someone fighting for survival. The hunter and the hunted, roles shifting with every dangerous turn. They managed to evade their pursuers, shaken but alive. The close call solidified their fragile alliance. They had to get into that vault. Sarah used her press credentials and a very convincing story to gain access to the records of the security firm. She found a match for the numbers. Box 317, registered under a name that meant nothing to either of them. A shell corporation, likely. The next day, using a carefully crafted plan involving distractions and forged documents, Alex accessed the vault. His hands shook as he inserted the key. Inside box 317 there were no jewels, no cash, instead, files, old yellowed documents, photographs, and several reels of 8mm film. Alex and Sarah took everything. They retreated to a safe house Sarah had, a small anonymous apartment. They spread the contents on a table. As they sifted through the material, a horrifying picture began to emerge. The files detailed a secret program, Project Silentium. It was an illegal, clandestine operation, run decades ago, its purpose to identify and cultivate gifted children. Children with unique, sometimes dangerous talents. The photographs were chilling. Children, some looking lost, some defiant. They were in a facility that looked disturbingly like the orchard. There were notes on each child, their abilities, their progress. The film reels showed them undergoing strange tests, exercises. It was exploitation on a grand scale. The donors mentioned in the orchard's ledger were the program's funders, powerful, influential figures in Viridia. Some of their names were still prominent in the city: politicians, business leaders, philanthropists, facades, all of them. One photograph in particular caught Alex's eye. A group of stern-faced adults overseeing the children. One man stood slightly apart, younger then, but his features sparked a disturbing sense of recognition in Alex. A cold dread washed over him. He couldn't place the man, not yet, but he knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that this man was important. The conspiracy was deeper, more personal than he could have ever imagined. The city's respectable veneer was crumbling before his eyes, revealing a rotten core. They found an old 8mm projector, threaded one of the film reels. The machine whirred to life, casting flickering images onto the wall, grainy silent footage, children playing in a yard, the yard of the orchard. Alex watched, his breath caught in his throat. Then he saw her, a small girl set apart from the others. She was wearing a silver locket, identical to the one he had found. The camera zoomed in slightly. The girl turned, her eyes wide and familiar, stared out from the past. It was Lily, his sister, unmistakably her. Younger, but it was her. Alex felt the world tilt. Lily, she hadn't just disappeared, she had been taken. She had been part of Project Silentium. The grief he had carried for 15 years transformed into a burning rage, mixed with a profound soul-crushing sorrow. All these years, she had been here, in this city, a victim of this monstrous experiment. He rewound the film, watched it again, his hands clenched into fists. The silence in the room was broken only by the whirring of the projector and Alex's ragged breathing. Sarah watched him, her expression a mixture of shock and compassion. Then another figure in the film caught his attention. The man from the photograph in the vault. He was interacting with the children, with Lily. The film quality was poor, but as the man turned towards the camera, his face momentarily clear, Alex's blood ran cold. He knew that face. Older now, lines etched by time and secrets, but he knew it. It was a younger version of his own estranged father, the father who had abandoned their family shortly after Lily's disappearance, the father he barely remembered. The connection was a devastating blow. The conspiracy wasn't just about a city's dark secret, it was about his family, his past, his father's departure, Lily's fate. It was all connected. The cryptic message in the locket wasn't random, it was a breadcrumb, leading him here, to this horrifying truth. The game had always been personal. He was not just an architect who stumbled upon a mystery, he was a brother, searching for his sister, and a son, confronting the monstrous legacy of his father. The shadows of yesterday had finally caught up with him, and the game was far from over. It was just beginning.